Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I've got a great video in store for you. How does XRP get set to a high price, right? What are the facts? How could this happen? I'm going to show you 3 ways that XRP can get to a 4 or 5 digit number. They are going to be, one of them is tokenization of stocks, bonds, and that kind of stuff. I'm going to show you all that. Another way is transaction volume, but some things need to happen before transaction volume can go through the roof, right? Those are the AMM as well as hooks needs to be implemented before all that takes place. And I'm going to go over that information with you, but I'm going to go through something that Matthew Liny put me onto, and that is through the Dodd-Frank Act. And I'm going to show you that what would need to take place for them to be able to set these prices, right? Because we've all seen videos like, you know, XRP has already been discussed to be at a set of a high price. You know, there's all these clips floating around online. We're going to play 2 of these clips, and then we're going to get into the real information on how this could all happen. All right, let's get into it, guys. All right, but first, guys, please go support Matthew Liny. He's a great researcher in the crypto space. He's been here long before I have, and I just have a lot of respect for him. He has helped me on this journey. I asked 2 people this question of, you know, how could a price be set? Matthew he got right back to me right away, and we were kind of talking through different things, and I just have a lot of respect for him. So please go show him some value, like his Twitter, please. All right, so this is from Jack the Rippler, but this is a Black Swan Capitalist talking about a price that was already discussed for XRP years ago, a set price for XRP, a high price that the central bankers came together and said, hey, this is what it's going to be. So let me play this for you.
When we talk about the price of XRP, we have to look at the debt, and central banks have an incentive to dissolve that debt right now. And they found a solution, which is blockchain. They actually are going to, in my opinion, based on the research, and also I can confirm this, that the International Monetary Fund has already agreed on a price before all this integration started to happen. So this was a few years ago. They agreed upon a price, and I got a lot of information from Linda P. Jones, has a friend who worked at the Central Bank of Australia, and she said that they agreed upon a price, and it's in the thousands. Now, when we again talk about the XRP price, we have to look at the global debt, the incentive for central banks to dissolve global debt, in fact, also to utilize this source of liquidity from XRP to facilitate transparency and moving into the digital economy. This is what they're going to be using. XRP is a financial instrument to serve the global economy.
Okay, so he has a source, Linda P. Jones. She has a friend or somebody that works in the Australian Central Bank, and she has told him that they've already agreed on a very high price, and this was years ago. COVID kind of slowed a lot of this down, guys, remember that. But also, check it out. Here's him again talking about the private ledger on the XRP ledger, where a lot of things, CBDC tests are done, a lot of things that we don't see, that does use what we call federated side chains, and those side chains use XRP, okay? Let me play this for you. Oh, I think I have to refresh. All right, check this out.
I know they have a private ledger and a public ledger. I've seen the private ledger once. I've seen the price go as high as $327,000.
You know what's interesting, guys? I've been in XRP just over 4 years, and why does it seem like XRP is the only cryptocurrency that has these weird, crazy price spikes on different exchanges into the thousands, right? I've never seen that with any other cryptocurrency but XRP, and it has happened on at least several different occasions that I can remember.
And I've seen that the private ledger does exist. The public ledger also exists. Now, how do they keep them separate? Through nodes on the XRP ledger, right? The thing is, what the merge of the private and public, I think that will happen. We have to have that regulation first and that clarity before they go ahead and utilize them.
Okay, so I don't need to play much more of that, but hey, I just wanted to show you where these numbers and information was coming from, okay? So what needs to happen before the XRP ledger could be used to move trillions of dollars? Well, it needs hooks, which are smart contracts, and it needs the AMM, okay? So XLS30D proposal is to bring automated market makers to the XRP ledger, okay? And this is supposed to go into effect later on this year, okay? And it says the XLSD proposal introduces 2 new transaction types for AMMs on the XRP ledger. It says AMM deposit and AMM withdrawal. These transactions allow users to add and remove liquidity from automated market makers instance, respectively. Both equal asset and single-sided deposits and withdrawals are supported. Equal asset deposits and withdrawals refer to the situations where a user adds or removes liquidity from the AMM instance or by depositing or withdrawing, okay? And it goes on to say when users add liquidity to AMM's instances, they receive pool tokens called LP tokens, right? These tokens can be bought or sold and used to make payments on the XRP ledger. So this is how we're going to be able to use our XRP in these gigantic liquidity pools to provide liquidity for banks to be able to move those billion-dollar payments to and from, okay? And so this is one of the big things, and also hooks. Smart contract proposal for the XRP ledger. Hooks is a smart contract functionality to the XRP ledger. Layer 1, custom code to influence the behavior and flow of transactions. Hooks are small, efficient pieces of code being defined on an XRP account, allowing logic to be executed before the XRPL transactions are done, okay? So those are the two things that need to come into place before we can expect money raining down from the skies, okay? But also, how does XRP's price get set? Who makes that decision? Okay. And so that would be the United States government through what is called the Dodd-Frank Act. And we've heard previous things about the Dodd-Frank Act, and we've talked on this channel about the Dodd-Frank debt, about bail-ins instead of bailouts for banks. And this was put together after the 2008 financial crisis in the United States due to these home loans that were batched and sold, and it just went to pieces. But check this out. The Dodd-Frank Act also authorizes the council is who's in charge here, to designate a financial market utility, or an FMU, as systemically important. If the council determines that the failure of or a disruption to the functioning of the FMU could create and increase the risk of significant liquidity or credit problems spreading among financial institutions or markets, and thereby threaten the stability of the U.S. financial system, designated FMUs will become subject to the heightened prudential and supervisory provisions of the Title 8 to promote robust risk management and safety soundness, including conducting their operations in compliance with applicable risk management standards, providing advance notice and review of changes to the rules, procedures, and operations, and that materially affect the nature and level of their risks, and being subject to relevant examination and enforcement provisions. So these are what is systemically important, these FMUs in the US right now. It's the clearinghouse, payments company, CLS Bank International, Chicago, Mercantile Exchange, the Depository Trust Clearing Company, which is the DTCC, and we've talked about that a lot on this channel. Fixed Income Clearing Corporation, the ICE Clearing Credit LLC. ICE is to do with NASDAQ, National Securities Clearing Corporation, and the Operations Clearing Corporation. The FMUs that are on the council designated perform a variety of functions in the market, including the clearance and settlement of cash, securities, and derivatives transactions. Okay, so I know you spent a lot of time on my channel in previous videos. We've talked about how stocks, bonds, derivatives, they're all being tokenized, right? And if the United States decides that the interledger protocol, Ripple protocol, whatever it is systemically important for the clearing and settlement of value in the United States, they could decide on a price for XRP. Okay, they could say, hey, XRP is this amount of money, 10 grand, whatever it is, and that is what is going to be all over the world going forward, and they would set the price. They have the power in the Dodd-Frank Act to do just that. All right. Also, let's take a look at here, right? So it's basically, I have a lot of these different documents, but they're from the Treasury, right? And it just goes into all this information, right? Title 8 provides 4 specific factors that the council must take into consideration when determining whether an FMU is or likely to become systemically important. These factors are also incorporated within more detail provided in the council's regulations regarding the designation of FMUs. The 4 specific factors are A, that the aggregate monetary value of the transactions processed by the FMU, B, the aggregate exposure of the FMUs to its counterparties, and C, the relationship and independencies or other interactions of the FMUs with other FMUs or payment, clearing, and settlement activities, and D, the effect of the failure of the disposition of the FMUs would have on the critical markets and financial institutions across the broader financial system, right? So Ripple really does play into this, right? They are going to be the glue, right, for this new financial system, right? This internet of value, is you hear it talked about a lot. All right. And then also Matthew also posted this. Hoover Institution highlights the SDR based stablecoin, issued a multilateral agency. Let me show you this. So this is a huge document, 160 pages. We're just going to cut right to it and go Ripple here. Ripple's brought up a few times in this document. Let me just show you this. It's brought up with all of these companies. Nevertheless, innovation remains a great strength in the U.S. economy. Private companies are ready to drive innovation, blah, blah, blah. And these companies are Cello, Chime, Circle, Coinbase, DM, Electric Capital, Imperial FS, right? right? And then you have JP Morgan, MobileCoin, but then you have Ripple, right? And SoFi, and you have Stellar here as well, okay? But then you go down here, and this reads, let me read this to you. It says, it is possible to envisage even more adventurous arrangements. For instance, a special drawing right based stablecoin based by the multilateral agency, right, proposed supranational currency Bancor, which would be exchangeable with any national currency. So any national currency could thus be convertible into any other currency in 2 steps via the stablecoin. Such an arrangement would resemble the cross-border payment system that Ripple currently operates with its XRP cryptocurrency, and is just one of the variety of possible alternatives. Any domestic alternative should allow for private sector solutions. Multi-currency corridors, for instance, should not rule out the use of regulated private stablecoins or cryptocurrencies, even though such solutions might require additional regulation. All right, so that is some really good information too, and I want to thank Michael for that. But there's also, we got to talk about the tokenization side and how that value could be brought onto the ledger. And so this is the OECD. OECD. All right, so they are the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. All right, and they put out this document saying understanding the tokenization of assets in financial markets. If we scroll down here, we get some information. It says asset tokenization can generally be described as the digital representation of physical assets on distributed ledgers, also referred to as digital, or the issuance of native tokens onto the blockchain. Although initially associated with mostly non-compliant initial coin offerings over the period of 2017-2018, currently tokenization represents one of the most prominent cases of distributed ledger technologies in financial markets. This toolkit note identifies the different approaches that policymakers have adopted around tokenization of assets and the markets for such instruments, and provides examples of these approaches. These approaches are not mutually exclusive, and policymakers may differ in the way that they address asset tokenization, participants of tokenization markets, and the risk arising of these markets. And it says this toolkit, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so look. Asset tokenization can generally be described as the digital representation of physical assets on distributed ledgers, right? We talked about that already. And so here is the image. Voila. All right, the tokenization of assets involves the digital representation of physical assets. They do repeat themselves a lot in this. I do apologize. On distributed ledgers, or the issuance of traditional assets, can be tokenized in form. In the first case, the economic value of these rights derived from pre-existing real assets and linked or embedded on DLT-based tokens, acting as a store of value. Tokens issued exist on chain digital twin, while the real assets on the back of which the tokens are issued continue to exist on the off-chain world, or in the off-chain world. The second case, asset tokenization, involves the creation of a trading instrument through a blockchain and the issuance of tokens that are native to that blockchain, built directly on chain, living exclusively on the distributed ledger. Okay, and now let me scroll in here. And so you have stocks, bonds, gold. I guess this is, shout out to the Howey test. This is oranges, or in orange groves maybe. And then you have real estate, and this says blockchain, off-chain custody, and then on-chain real world, the digital representation of that value. Okay, and I've shown this to you in previous videos, just one recently, but I want to show you how much money is in the world, how much value. And this is actually a little bit older of a document. This is 2020, so this has changed a bit, but I want you to get the idea, and this is kind of the wow factor. So each black square is $100 billion in value. Okay, and it says silver is roughly about 43.9 billion. Cryptocurrency is 244 billion. We know that's about 1.1 trillion now, right? So this has changed a bit. And it says the US budget deficit, 3.8 trillion, right? It talks about Federal Reserve's balance sheet of 7 trillion. Billionaires, there's a lot of billionaires. The world's gold is about 10.9 trillion right now. Over the past couple of years, I think it's risen to about 12 trillion. And you have Fortune 5 companies, New York Stock Exchange, right? $89.5 trillion in the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ, right? As well as the Japanese exchange, the Shanghai Stock Exchange. So that's almost $100 trillion there. There you have narrow money, which is 35.2 trillion. Broad money, about another 100 trillion. Global debt is about 250 to 200 to 300 trillion dollars, give or take now, right? And so, governments and spending, global real estate, this is actually has come up now since this. It's about 320 to 330 trillion dollars. You get what I'm saying, guys, right? There's a lot of money out in the world, and all of this value is gonna get tokenized and added to ledgers. Now, let me ask you this question. since this is a global situation with global ledgers, right? It's not just, hey, one country has more significance over another, right? Wouldn't it be amazing to have a bridge asset that could settle in any currency, in any pair, or any gold pair, or any, palladium or carbon credits? All of this value is going to be brought onto ledgers. And I'm trying to make the point as what is kind of the all shining light of blockchains that are at the top of this pyramid, right? If you had to say, hey, in the last 10 years, what is the most recognized blockchain that has been tested with banks and central banks in the globe? There's really two answers here. It's Ripple and XRP, and it's Quant. Okay, and XLM is kind of making some inroads, and HBAR is making some inroads, and Algorand is trying to do some things too, but those are really the top of the pyramid. Okay, and you got to understand, as this value gets tokenized, guys, derivatives market, right? $600 trillion to $1 quadrillion, right? We talked about that, tokenizing derivatives, bringing them on. What would be perfect for all this, right? You need huge liquidity pools to drive all of this demand, right? And the XRP ledger is built for all of this. They thought about this, they thought about this in the past, and they really wanted to. I think Ripple really understood that the ledger is basically there for the entire world to use, right? There's 180 currencies, 180 times 180, right? Because you need pairs against each other. Is 33,000 currencies, guys. All of this value is going to come onto. A lot of it's going to come onto the XRP ledger, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I could be just smoking some good weed. We got the best weed here in Hawaii and in California, but that's besides the point, my friends. Tokenization is another way that this could get added. Also, the third way, guys, you still need the AMMs and you need hooks to get to this third part too, which is transferring value. All right, I just did a video on some of the biggest Ripple partners and how much money they move per day. I'm going to link that down the bottom of this video. This video should probably come out in like 2 or 3 days. That video will come out just before this video. I'll line it up. But I went through how many trillions of dollars all of these different Ripple partners move. And if Ripple started getting the lion's share of those transfers, guys, it's a lot. And 10 trillion is a drop in the bucket. And I'm not going to go through all of that now because I just made a video on that, but I will link that down below. Please watch that, and then you can get a good understanding of why I think $10 trillion is an easy value to get to in the grand scheme of things. I mean, shit, Citibank themselves does $10 trillion a day in settling. Okay, so if Ripple, to get to $10,000, Ripple would need to move about $10 trillion a day and have their only about a low circulating supply of like 1 billion tokens or a couple billion tokens. That's how you would get to a high price, just moving value. But to move all that value, you would need the AMMs and the smart contracts, okay? And these are just 3 ways that I can see XRP reaching a high value. With the financial, the FMUs, right, systemically important, I think that is really what could be the future of Ripple. And as they become even more important and work with more central banks, I think winners have already been chosen in this arena, right? And I do think Ripple, Quant, XLM, XDC, these guys are all at the top of the pyramid. And these are the ones that we should be spending our time researching, understanding how they can impact our lives, right? When you own parts of the blockchain, you own cryptocurrency, guys, you own a part of the financial future of everything, all right? And that is why it's so important that we learn, we grow, and we share together. If you made it to the end of the video, guys, please tell me, what is your, maybe your favorite cryptocurrency outside of XRP? What do you guys see this happening? Are these 3 ways I brought up to you plausible in your eyes? Do you see this happening, right? What are your feelings on all of this? I would love to hear it. And I get back to every single comment, guys. You guys are very important to me. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you next time. And don't forget, Matthew, Liny. Go give him a shout out and a follow. Thanks, guys. Bye.